Hello and welcome to the Inside Scoop. I'm Pat Riley. Thank you for joining us. We'd like to welcome our guests. We have a special show with the members of the Board of Selectmen, Chairman Marie Smith, Dick Schiavo, the new member, and Joe Pacheco. Thank you all for joining us on this very nice, warm summer day in July.
Thank you so very much for having us. We appreciate coming down here.
Thank you very much. We always like to check in, see what's going on.
That's
because
right.
even during the summer months, town of Raynham's still busy.
Oh, it's always busy, always busy in our office, right?
Yes, I would agree.
Now, Marie, obviously one of the main issues and people's concern is the whole issue with mosquitoes.
Yes.
Maybe you can give us an update on where we are with that.
We have been, through Alan, of course, and the Board of Selectmen, we have been in contact with the Department of Public Health. They have done spraying on 2 occasions, and from last report that I got, that they will probably have to do more because they are still finding mosquitoes. They've had to spread it now from to more communities because of the fact that they are still finding more. You know, this upsets me in a little bit, and I really appreciate people, and I want to try to understand, and I'm finding a hard time doing it, of the people who are so disgruntled because we are spraying. I understand about organic farming, and I understand that people don't like to worry about the frogs and the beetles and everything else, but I cannot put that into the proper perspective of a human life. And it really, really boggles my mind. I don't know if anyone here has any other explanation for it. It's just, I just can't see it. I don't understand the thinking.
Yeah, there was an interesting email that was circulated. I guess the town residents sent it to the governor and the senator and the representative, and it was very, very critical of the spraying. And you just want to reach out to people like that and say, you know, there are issues here that supersede, you know, some of the environmental concerns. I mean, we are all concerned with the environment.
Absolutely.
And it's a very fine line that we walk between being environmentally, respectful.
Abusive.
Yep, and respectful, and at the same time having concern for the public health. You know, I had a call yesterday from one of our town residents, and this is a person who's lived here many years and has a fairly large piece of property. And this individual person, this fellow, said that, you know, Dick, in past years when we've sprayed, I've come up to my property and I've not seen any mosquitoes, none. And he said this year after the spraying, I see mosquitoes. And one of the issues that we have to really deal with is that the spraying, the chemicals, they've decreased the amount of chemicals. I'm not a chemist, so I can't tell you what chemicals these are, but I do know from what I've read that we spray a lot less, content and a lot less concentration, and we may be at that point, you know, where we're doing the best we can environmentally, but we're not doing enough in terms of the public health. So I think we, as Maria said, we need to be sure that the public understands that this is a serious health issue that we cannot walk away from because of other concerns environmentally. We have to do the right thing.
Well, I give Alan Perry and the other health agents in the area a lot of credit because they took an awful lot of time. They got together, they had meetings with Commissioner Arbach, and they had come to this change in their protocol, which I think was a big, big step. The big step that they took in Boston, too, was the fact that they now will schedule when the children should be off the fields, when the games should be stopped and all. And it kind of helped an awful lot to all the health agents because here in Raynham, we said 4 o'clock last year. Bridgewater said something else. Taunton said something else. So if you didn't like the 4 o'clock one, you just picked up your team and you went to another community.
And those mosquitoes don't care because they can fly for like 12 miles or whatever.
They didn't care. They just said, oh, that's where the kids are going. I think I'll follow them, you know. So I think I give the state credit that they did do that. Are they going to continue to do this spraying as we on the Board of Selectmen have for the past 2 or 3 years been encouraging them to do probably a series of 3, I think it was, Joe, was it not? 3 different times, like every 3 weeks for the first, like April, May, and June, to do it every 3 or 4 weeks to maybe get a head start on it. Whether they will do that, I don't know. But they have come a little bit, at least, to our way of thinking, and the commissioner has really been working very hard at that. So,
Joe, was it unusual for them to find contaminated mosquitoes as early as they did? Usually we don't even hear about this till the end of, you know, maybe August or whatever, which I would think is a sign that it would really be a bad season for mosquitoes if some action wasn't taken.
I think most people who participated in this process were expecting a more difficult season because of the 3-year cycles that the mosquitoes go through. But, you know, the State Department of DPH did acknowledge that this was more unusually early, and so that was cause for concern, obviously, for the 3 of us. But I think it alerted DPH to the significant problem that we knew has existed for a number of years, and I trust that they didn't come to this decision lightly to spray. And that's the one comment I would say, is that, you know, I read in some of these stances of people who are opposed to aerial spraying that this should be the last resort. Well, we were at the last resort. We had 2 people in the town of Raynham alone last year contract Triple E. We've found positive mosquitoes in Raynham now with Triple E. This was prior to the spraying, but we did. One of those individuals last year passed away. This is an extremely serious problem that we've been dealing with for a number of years now, and so this was the last resort. Every other alternative was pursued and exhausted, in my opinion, and so this is something that we felt was necessary, and as the chairman said, we wouldn't be opposed to having it happen another time this year, because the need, I believe, is still there.
Pat, I just wanted to add to that, you know, in the past years, the Triple E issue has tended to be rather local, but we now see that this is much, much more widespread. It isn't just a Raynham problem. How many communities were sprayed? 21 communities were sprayed this time? That's a very, very large area. So it says that this is an increasing problem throughout the southeast part of Massachusetts. So we, as Marie said, our health agent has worked with, I guess it's 11 other communities, now it's 21, and people in the state, and as well as those concerned environmentally, have to understand that this problem isn't going away. If anything, it's worse. And you know, the fact that there are 21 communities involved says that, you know, it's no longer Raynham, East, and Taunton. It's widespread, and people have got to come together on this.
Exactly. And yet, Marie, Raynham is pretty much, you know, the epicenter of mosquito activity. So why shouldn't Raynham take a leading role in you know, trying to do something?
Well, we have the Hockomock Swamp,
Exactly.
we have Dead Swamp, we have Pine Swamp, and all of these are breeding areas. The great thing, too, were the comments that I've heard, if you've got standing water, get rid of it. So if you've got a little puddle in your backyard, the little swale that just fills up and just constantly, that's a breeding ground for mosquitoes. So work with conservation if it's a conservation issue, and get rid of the standing water. They even talk of bird baths. Take the water out of the bird baths, you know. But also, too, as Richard was talking about the spray and the chemicals, they also say that these chemicals don't even get to the ground before they're dissipated, because they're attacking flying mosquitoes. They don't do the larva, they don't get into the ground, they don't get into the dirt. So that was another thing that I'm saying. So why is everybody so concerned of their plants if it's not getting
Very
even
well.
to the plants,
Point's
you know?
well taken.
You know?
Yeah, it's well taken. There's
But-
one other thing I'd like to say to your comment, Pat. You know, I'm not so sure Raynham is the epicenter that it might have been. I think the fact is that Raynham's officials have carried a lot of the public, you know, outcry, and therefore we're perceived as being the epicenter, whereas we probably have done a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of working with the state through our officials and our health agent and so forth. So I'd like to think that this is more than just a Raynham problem, although what I'd like to think is that other communities would be as proactive as this community has been in fighting this health issue.
Definitely. Joe?
No, Dick makes a good point, and you know, if you look, Mayor Mitchell in New Bedford's requesting aerial spraying, and his request was denied. I think it goes to the fact that it is a regional issue. We, out of necessity, I think, spearheaded the effort, and as it became more prevalent, more communities were looking to get involved. And again, you know, you have a city with 100,000 plus people looking to be sprayed, and it was denied. So it just again goes to the point that I don't think the state came to the decision to spray lightly.
Definitely.
Took a while.
But important for people to know that they still need to use the mosquito repellent.
That's evermost comments that are made all the time. Spraying for mosquitoes is only one tool. You spray on yourself, you on your clothing, you stay in at dawn and dusk, you wear long sleeve, you put socks on. You have to be your own protector. It's like going to the doctor now. You go to the doctor now and you almost have to tell the doctor what's wrong with you before the doctor can diagnose what's wrong with you. Because that's the first thing he says. Well, how do you feel? What do you think? You know? So it's just one more tool. But I'm with these guys in. I'll use every tool that is out there that can possibly be used if it will do something to save a person's life, in spite of the people that don't want spraying.
Exactly. Absolutely.
That's our job.
Absolutely.
That's our responsibility.
Totally.
So, Mr. Schiavo, how's it been now in the Selectmen for a couple months?
I'm enjoying
now?
it.
You are?
I'm
Good.
enjoying it. And you notice I'm sitting between Joey and Marie, so I'm well bracketed. It's a challenge, but it's very rewarding, and I feel like you know, there's a lot to be done, and I'm enjoying doing it very much. So I'm looking forward to, you know, continuing with the work and working on the issues that confront the town. And the town, as everybody knows, is a very, very interactive community, very, very positive kinds of relationships. So it makes the job rewarding. I really am enjoying it from that point of view. I haven't had any experience where I didn't feel like everybody was pulling together to solve community problems. And it's what makes Raynham such a great place, and I really, truly mean that. I can't think of a better community right now to be a part of in any of the surrounding areas. This is the place to be.
Absolutely.
Spoken like a true Raynhamite.
Now, tell us, we're hearing about slot machines, we're hearing about casinos. What's the inside scoop?
Pat, I don't know. I mean, we hear a lot about the city of Taunton and their proposal, but I've consistently said that the federal process is still so open and so foggy. Nobody knows exactly what it's going to take at the federal level for the Wampanoag tribe to be recognized. There's a dispute as to whether or not they were recognized prior to the Supreme Court rulings. Then you have different translations as to what recognized means federally. You have discussions if Congress is going to be involved in the process, if it's going to be left up to the Secretary of Interior, what stance the Bureau of Indian Affairs is going to take. And so I honestly believe that the Taunton proposal is still in queue. And that's why we keep trying to, some of us, turn the attention back to Raynham Park and the potential for them to land a slots parlor license, because the basis of the gaming bill, if done correctly, was supposed to be an economic stimulus bill, a jobs-creating bill, and only a few jobs have been created thus far, and those are all government jobs. You want to create contracting jobs. You want to create the gaming industry jobs, and none of those have been created yet because the process is still bogged down in the minutia. We have to get that going. We have to move it forward. We have to get the RFPs out there so that people like Raynham Park, organizations like Raynham Park, can put together their proposals. Winning party can be selected, and they can start the process of construction and renovations and hiring of the jobs. And Raynham Park can be up and running in 120 days. This casino, if it happens, I think is going to be at least 5 years out. We don't want to wait that long to have job creation and putting people back to work.
Whose ball is the court in right now, Marie? Is it the state legislature, the governor, or where does it stand?
I think it's gone to Indian Affairs and the federal level at this point. And like Joe says, if they can, who knows how long that's going to take?
Right.
Because they didn't give a time limit. I know they wanted to put amendments on that to give time limits, but that got squashed. So it could be a year, it could be 5 years. And who wants to wait 5 years? the slots can produce almost instantaneous. And that's money, that's cash flow coming in. And the state certainly will reap the reward of that also. And it will put part of the 600 jobs that got lost back off the government rolls and into working again. I mean, our unemployment is bad. And I can't see the governor talk so much about putting infrastructure and construction jobs of that, but those are only temporary jobs.
Right.
Once the road is built, these people are out of work again because the communities can't absorb them. So once they're out of work. So those aren't really, to me, I don't know how the other gentlemen feel, but to me, these aren't long-term jobs. They're jobs like when the road is built, they're all done. So where do they go from there? Back on the unemployment rolls.
Right.
So I know it's a stretch, but what do you do?
I absolutely agree with both what Joe and Marie have said in terms of the Raynham Park and what could be a relatively quick turnaround for new business and for satisfying the demand. Backing up a space, I mean, I have mixed emotions personally about the Taunton activity, and I'll tell you why I do. On the one hand, I think that the casino, et cetera, in Taunton is certainly going to bring jobs to the area, and that's a good thing. On the other hand, the mitigation in terms of what it requires of the communities that surround Taunton, I don't think is really getting the kind of consideration for whatever reasons that Joe probably would speak to better than I. But I'm looking at today's Brockton Enterprise, and here's two things that come to my mind, and these are concerns aired on the casinos, traffic and water. We've got MEPA now getting involved, environmental protection, which is another whole can of worms. But here's some officials' quote from surrounding towns said they have been shut out of the process and don't have the resources to adequately examine the proposal in the short amount of time. State Rep. Oral Lakeville urged the state to examine impacts on surrounding communities. Quote, I'd appreciate it if you could look at it as a regional issue. So what I'm saying is, my sense is that we're not getting the consideration in terms of what effect this has on us. Certainly they're going to consider it relative to Taunton, and they should. But how about in Raynham, as much as any other community is affected, if not more than any other community, based on our, the borders that we, the way the borders that we share with them. So I have mixed emotions because I think, this is a good idea, but on the other hand, I'd like to see a heck of a lot more, interest in mitigating the burdens that this is going to place on our traffic, on our police, our fire that we share, in terms with Taunton in terms of calls. Now, putting it the other way, in terms of the Raynham dog track, I'd like to see a lot more effort on the part of our elected officials, and namely Senator Pacheco, in the press, talking about the Raynham dog track. I mean, here's an elected official who has tremendous credibility, who is well known in the in the state. I'd just like to see more press on the Raynham dog track, because in my opinion, the Raynham dog track and the Taunton casino, they're not mutually exclusive. These two things, as Joe has said in the press earlier, they can live side by side, no problem. I was quoted as saying, I know people who would prefer to go to the dog track because, that's all they want of the slots. They don't want to go into the big, the poker rooms and all the other stuff. So I'd just like to see more energy and more press and more effort at a higher level than us, pushing for that, because there's no reason why, and as it's already been stated, that can't move forward, and who knows when, if ever, the Taunton facility is going to be approved. And as Maria's already said, it's in the federal hands now, and
Right.
I mean, that could be forever.
Joe, what's your take on all of that?
It's a process that I think we have to continue to be involved with and briefed upon, and we've appointed Marilyn Wally, our Community Development Director, to be the point of contact in terms of MEPA and Department of Environmental Protection and so on and so forth. I think all of us can point to a lot of the mitigation measures that we'll probably have to be dealing with should this move forward. You know, Route 24, 495, 104, 138, 24. So those are all going to be issues that we're going to have to work with in terms of infrastructure and travel. Then you have the school district.
Can have impact on the schools
Yeah.
too, because
Yes, of
Foxwood
course it
had
is.
quite
Yeah.
an impact on the
Yes.
surrounding schools.
The school district, the water and sewer, because we have the IMA for our sewer through Taunton. The schools we've talked about, but again, we want to put emphasis on the police and fire. And then the general government services at Town Hall and the housing market. You know, those are all different areas that any type of gaming establishment, specifically one to the scale that the Wampanoags are proposing, would bring. And you mentioned Foxwoods, Pat. A couple of years ago, when I was in the gaming task force, we some of us traveled to Connecticut and had conversations with officials in Connecticut who discussed those types of things. One of the most obvious concerns once the casino was open was the school district. It wasn't so much the crime, it wasn't so much the traffic, it was the schools, because you had people moving into town and living there, and the schools had to provide the different language interpreters as well as the different needs for the students. And so those costs alone right there, in addition to the increased population, really adversely affected the school department. And so those are all different areas that we have to be involved in and make sure are mitigated against for the Raynham taxpayer.
Big challenge.
Oh, you know, and I don't
Facing
think,
down.
as Joe went down that list like that, you wonder, does the average person think of things like that?
Right.
Oh, great, we're going to get a casino. Yeah, well, swell. I can't get out of my house now because there's going to be too much traffic. What if I need a police officer or the fire department?
Ambulance, whatever.
An ambulance, and oh well, they already had to shoot off to Taunton for whatever. I mean, not that mutual aid isn't a wonderful thing, and we do provide it, and we will continue to provide it. But, and I thought I saw somewhere, Joseph, and I know you're more up on the dollar values of things too, but wasn't it $6-point-something million that, no, 6.1% of the dollars that was going to be for mitigation for communities? That's not an awful, I mean, because we don't know what the dollar value is.
Right, exactly.
And how many people are expected to go there
Right.
once it's open? Foxwoods, at this point in
They're
time,
in
they're
trouble.
losing money.
They're in trouble, yeah.
We've got another, obviously, big development going on in town with the temple on South Street.
Oh,
Is that
my.
any kind of a concern from traffic issues or anything like that?
You know, I really don't think so. The temple is huge. It's going to be magnificent.
gonna be a beautiful
magnificent,
facility.
yes. But I don't think it warrants the traffic, because it's like a monastery. So the people that are there are going to be there. They're there teaching. They're there to do their meditation classes and things of that nature. But I have not heard that it was going to be a traffic issue. The building is monstrous. Have you gone by there? Oh my Lord, that building is monstrous. I was going to stop in there and ask the contractors, what is it that they're putting on the roof? Do you know what they're putting on that
No,
roof?
I
It's
don't.
like a silver
Okay.
component. And I thought, somebody said they thought it was insulation and then something else goes on top of it. I said, I'm going to swing in there one day and just say, come on, I have to know. It's driving me crazy because I go by there so often. I have to know what that stuff is.
Yeah.
We have another big project underway for the town of Raynham, is our sewer construction project. Dick, obviously you've served on the sewer commission and
Sure.
been very involved in that. Maybe you can give us an update of where that stands.
Absolutely. It's progressing. Everything is on track. We'll start digging toward the latter part of August. And the bids are all in. The contract has been selected. And for the life of me, I can't think of them right now, the name, but I'm told that they're the people that worked on earlier phases, and they were very, very well respected in terms of the quality of work they did. So it's moving ahead. People should expect to start seeing the digging in the next month, and I would say that it's going to do everything that we hope it will in terms of connecting the people who need that service, whose septic systems in many cases are not doing the job that they supposed to do. So, yeah, that's on track.
And people that have been waiting for that service for, in some cases, many years.
Many years, yeah. So it's finally going to come to pass, and we appreciate their patience because it's been a long road, and most of the delays have been environmental. Again, they really have been environmental. I mean, the town of Raynham spent a lot of money complying with state regs for getting approval for this. A lot of money, but we're there. We made that commitment. The town made that commitment many years ago, and we told them when we started this process as a town, before I got involved in it, that we were going to stay true to completing the project. And it's another reason to just think so highly of this town, because the commitment was there. There was never any doubt when we went back to get the money to finish the project. It was it was supported uniformly because the town knew that that was a commitment we had made to the rest of the public. So I feel very proud of the town for that too, by the way.
Pat,
Is there an estimated completion date for the project?
Well, there's contracts 2, which is what we're working on now in phase 6, and then there's 3 and 4. So we've got a few years more to get through all of it. You know, all the design and engineering are completed for contract 2. Contract 3, there's still more work, you know, as far as going out to bid and all the rest. But it'll all take place in progression. I mean, you can't do it all at once.
Sure, absolutely. It's a big project. Joe?
just briefly to put it in perspective, and Dick alluded to it, if you look at places like the Cape, they have no sewerage whatsoever. Yarmouth tried putting it through, the voters turned it down. This is a significant project in terms of public health, but also public infrastructure. And the diligence and the tenacity the sewer department has displayed over the years, as Dick said, through a number of obstacles to get us where we are today. They deserve a lot of credit, including their superintendent, Chris Gallagher, because it's been an expensive and drawn-out process, but none of that is as a result of the sewer department. I got into it at the tail end after former Selectman Donahue left office. Those IMA discussions and the discussions with Mass DEP, they were difficult. So it's really good to see us where we are today moving forward.
Absolutely. That can't be right that we only have a couple minutes
I
left
know.
here.
I look at that and said, holy Toledo, that was a fast
Did go
time.
fast.
I
Yeah.
know.
And
But
buzzing
quickly,
right by.
because we only have a couple minutes here, we hear about some communities on the verge of bankruptcy, for heaven's sake. And I know you're a former member of the Finance Committee and been in the Board of the Selectmen for a couple years now. How does Raynham stand? What is our financial status?
Right now, we're fine. We are fine. We have money in our stabilization account, of which we do want to put more in. I would like some new growth to help us along a little bit, but right at this point in time, we're okay. We're okay. And
Because
I
of
have
good planning over the years.
I was just going to
and
say
good management.
It takes a lot of planning and management in order to pull it off. And Dwayne Wheeler and the Finance Committee, along with all of the town elected officials and workers, pull together to make it work.
Excellent.
You know, no overspending on budgets, no coming even close. They all return money. They don't spend it if they don't have to. We drill that into them
Always
too.
balance that budget.
Always balance that budget. Send it back if you can't, you know, you don't need to spend it, then send it back. But I think we're doing a great job.
Very good.
They are doing a great job.
Excellent. As you said, Dick, it's the place to live.
Ditto.
Excellent. Well, we are just about out of time, so we'll invite you to come back soon. And in the
Okay.
meantime, the selectmen continue meeting during the summer every other month through the end of August.
Every
every
other
other
week.
excuse me,
Every
every
other
other week. My gosh, can you imagine? You'd have
Well, we'd have a real
huge meetings,
vacation.
I guess. No.
Every other week, yep.
Yeah, obviously, one thing we wanted to mention too, maybe at the next time we have you back, is our Veterans Memorial that's coming along well.
It's
You've
coming
had
along.
groundbreaking for that.
We don't have much time now, but if you go by Town Hall, take a look to the right of the building, and you will see that progress is going on. If you don't have your bricks now to memorialize your loved ones, please stop at the Veterans Office, pick up a form, and buy a brick. We need the money.
Okay, very good. All right, so thank you very much
You're
for
very
being
welcome.
with us.
Thank you,
Smith,
Pat.
Schiavo,
Thank you.
and Joe Pacheco, and we want to thank all of you for being with us as well. We'll see you on our next Inside Scoop. So we're down to seconds. 5 seconds, wow.
Boy, that did go fast, huh?
Did, Dana?